So, we have this class called Apes, and by apes I definitely don't mean the animal. I'm talking about hardcore AP environmental science, where we talk about the energy transfer between trophic levels and how these fancy things called chlorofluorocarbons are putting holes in the ozone. But because we wanted more than just textbook stuff, we decided to go out into the real world and immerse ourselves in the environment of southern Utah. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the AP Environmental Science Trip 2013. It all started at 6:30 a.m., where we met at Highland. We were lucky enough to meet a mining engineer from Kennecott, Nate Armstrong, who told us about the seismic activity that caused the devastating landslide that happened there recently. Then we hopped in our cars and drove to the mouth of Spanish Fork Canyon and learned about the 9 autonomous windmills that are capable of producing up to 2.1 megawatts of power each when they get up to speed. Afterwards, we stopped a bit north of Delta, Utah, and had a geology lecture from Danielle. She discussed how we live in a range basin area and that there are normal faults in our valley, which really just kind of look like a shelf of books leaned on its side. After the Ranges and Basins lecture, we drove to Lindell, Utah, or Site 9. Everyone collected data there about the water and environment. We had a small lecture about the invasive species tamarisk. To see the Google Earth location, copy and paste the URL below. Our group, the Red Group, collected data from DMAD Reservoir and the surrounding soil. To see the next Google Earth location, copy and paste the URL below. When we finished collecting data from DMAD Reservoir, we drove to Mammoth Creek, or Site 1, to collect data there. To see the final Google Earth location, copy and paste the link below. Our final drive to camp was short, but we were surprised to find that Russ's trailer was not quite there yet. So a few of us went on a small hike to Shakespeare's Arch. The view was great. It had been a long, cold day, and when we got back from the hike, we set up camp. We were all anxious to eat dinner, and this was rapidly followed by a well-deserved rest. The next morning, we had breakfast and headed to the Bureau of Land Management office, where we learned about the rangelands, endangered species, and National Park Service. One guy was so inspired by the ecologist Aldo Leopold that he started to cry. It was pretty funny. Then some of us went rappelling, while others went to a reclamation site instead. When we got back from both sites, we ate dinner and sat by the fire. It was so warm that night that some people even slept outside. On Saturday, a few groups left early to go rappelling, while the rest of us rotated through ecology, geology, and archaeology groups. On the drive back to camp, there was a great sunset. On Sunday, we slept in and had a big breakfast and had a lecture about oil sands at a drill site. It was really cool and smelled really bad. When it was time to go home, we drove and stopped in Escalante, Utah for a big group picture. Well, that's all, folks.
Created using Powtoon.